near maximum intensity exercise, 8 weeks' time, that number will be doubled, and the output of your mitochondria, which actually creates energy in your body. So all your energy comes from the ATP-PC energy system, but it comes through the mitochondria at the cellular level. So the way we work with athletes to increase endurance, or adults, if you want to have more endurance, is you've got to create more mitochondrial cells. Now, on the other side of that, I had a physician once that say, Phil, are you aware that all this bad stuff that's coming into your body through the oxygen we breathe goes through your mitochondria? Absolutely. If you hang out beside some a lot of exhaust of a lot of cars, your mitochondria are going to bring some bad stuff in your body. But then the other point of view would be, when you are doing anaerobic exercise, you send the red cells in your body on a hunt to absorb all the oxygen they get, because they can't get enough. It can't get enough oxygen. So basically your body's trying to go get this. So anything that could be oxidized in your body, like the free radicals, then your body itself is going after that to suck that up. And that's my own personal theory on that. But on the other side, the mitochondria is not a theory. It's truly, the research has been published for over 10 years that near maximum intensity exercise doubles the amount of mitochondria in your cells and triples the amount of output. It's measured by what they call cyclochrome C. It's tripled in 8 weeks' time when you do that type of exercise. So if people want more energy, the way to do it is change your body at the cellular level, and that's what Sprint 8 does. It changes your body at the cellular level by multiplying the number of mitochondria, which are basically called the nuclear power plants at the cellular level. Then on top of that, I know you're doing some interviews on anti-aging, and I'm probably hearing all about telomeres. There's a study published in Colorado that basically says for older adults, it's clear, near maximum exercise, maximum intensity exercise, which is basically what Sprint 8 is, shows more promise to preserve telomere length than anything that can be done.
Human growth hormone is really considered the fountain of youth. Do you agree with that?
That's an interesting way of looking at it, and I understand why people say that. And from an exercise standpoint, when we target exercise to release this wonderful hormone, then you get all these anti-aging properties, if you will. Your skin thickens by 7.1%, so you look younger. Matter of fact, when our nurses went through the program, we tell them, ladies, you're going to have people come up to you and make statements like, have you changed your makeup? Because it thickens your skin, and you can see when people are doing Sprint 8, after just a few weeks, their complexion changes. They look much healthier. So from that standpoint, I can understand why they say it's growth hormone. It's probably a combination of that, several other things, but Sprint 8 also releases dopamine and serotonin on every workout. You get the runner's high. So it does so many wonderful things for us. And it's really, if you think about it, it's not that I figured out how to do a great program. I'm going back to, this is the way children play. And we're taking this and we're making it a little bit scientific so adults can do it 20 minutes 3 times a week. It's scientific play. And what we know, it releases this hormone that everybody calls the anti-aging hormone.
Your book is so accessible. It's so clear and so easy to read. I noticed you didn't leave out anything about stretching. Something that most people do not want to do. And I noticed you said we don't have to stretch too long, but there's very specific things we really should be doing whether we want to or not. Talk just a couple of minutes about that.
Well, flexibility is so important. And if you go back to the whole reason we train in the first place, when we work out with weights, you're making your muscles stronger and tighter because you're slightly injuring them. And when they heal back stronger and tighter. And so if you don't add the flexibility piece in that process of continuing on a regular basis, working your muscle to strengthen them and to make those cells stronger and bigger, then you end up getting a lot tighter than you should be. And so stretching is just a fundamental part of that whole balance. And I hate it. Everybody I know hates stretching, I think. I mean, there's a few people that like it, but I think they'd lie about other things too. But now I'm just kidding about that. But Anyway,
I'm sure you're right.
It does take time, but we put a 10-minute routine in the book that we recommend 4 times a week. We've tested it on over 1,000 young athletes. In average case, they pick up 4 inches of measurable flexibility in 4 weeks with their hamstrings and glutes on the typical old box reach test when they do the program. And so what we're teaching now for athletes is to do dynamic mobility type of stretching where it's short stretch holds before athletic competitions, because when you do the 30-second stretch hold, which has been shown in the research to increase flexibility that lasts, and if you do that type of stretching before an athletic competition, it will actually make you slightly weaker for about an hour and 15 minutes afterwards. So now the recommendation is to use static stretching with 30-second stretch holds after training. Now, if you do it before, all that means is you're not going to be able to jump quite as high or run quite as fast, which for some coaches with athletes coming back in the season, when they are coming back to school, they should have been working out in the summer, but, teenagers and young folks sometimes have great plans they don't get to. We're going to do that tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. But when they come back, we suggest to coaches to do static stretching early in the season when students come back, to intentionally slow them down for about a week or two, then put static stretching at the end so they get the flexibility benefits of flexibility training and static stretching like that without injury and without slowing them down.
How interesting how the whole paradigm and the current research is different. For example, I used to walk 3 to 5 minutes before I would go on the tennis court and get myself just warmed up a little bit and then stretch for 15 minutes and then go on the tennis court. So it's totally different.
You can do light stretching. I think when some folks write, no stretching before, that may be an overreaction. You can do some, but if you use long stretch holds, that's when we know that it basically weakens you. I've had some trainers a couple of years ago that were saying any static stretching before, that's what's causing all these injuries today. Probably a little overreaction on that one, and sometimes we as exercise physiologists do that, but a little stretching before is fine. You just want to avoid the prolonged static stretching before, because that's what weakens. But on the other hand, that's how you build flexibility. It's the static stretching with stretch holds that are around 30 seconds been shown to be the most productive.
And the last part of this interview, I really want to hone in. I know that you have specially made exercise equipment, but for those of us who either A, cannot purchase it right now, or are a little bit nervous to go running at full speed for 30 seconds on cement, what is the in-between recommendation for how we get started?
Well, the best way, you can do high knees, like a high knee plyometric where you're running in place except get your knees really, really high. Any type of activity that will get you really winded in 30 seconds or less, where you just have to stop at 30 seconds because you're recruiting fast twitch fiber, moving fast, that forces your heart muscle to have to work harder to oxygenate all that muscle fiber rather than just a half of it. The slow twitch fiber will work. You could be on one of those little bitty inexpensive trampolines, for example. Any type of exercise. So, you can release growth hormone climbing a tree if you can get winded in 30 seconds or less. And so any type of exercise. But the key is you got to recruit fast twitch fiber so your heart muscle essentially tries to oxygenate a lot more muscle fiber. It can't do that, releases lactic acid, raises your body temperature to try to cool you off. And within that process, your body releases this hormone, and that it's illegal because it improves performance.
Have people ever asked you if this protocol releases cortisol in the body?
We've talked about that some, and I am sure there's some cortisol release during that. But what I think the body would tell us is it handles that. That's somewhat a part of the process, but the body handles that naturally, and you get all the benefits without the other part. It could be the body releases some cortisol with exercise, but at the same time, it releases so much dopamine and serotonin that it overrides that.
Fascinating.
And that's something we don't really know yet. I'd love to know. I'd love to be able to research that at some point in time in the future.
It's an honor to meet you, and I loved your book. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pick up the book, Ready, Set, Go, Synergy Fitness for Time-Crunched Adults by Phil Campbell.